Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trek Before. This time, Deep Space Nine Facets. Facets. We're delving into the facets. Deep Space Nine. You want to get more facets of this podcast? Become a Patreon member. Patreon.com/IABD. Also get more facets of the mothership. It's All Been Done Radio Hour. Get behind the scenes stuff. Get to see our faces. All kinds of stuff. And like I said, get all the bonus content across the network by becoming a Patreon member. It don't take much. It don't cost much. I'm one. And that's just another facet you learned about. And now we're talking facets. Deep Space Nine, It's All Been Trekked Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. Regular hosts, Skeleton Crew, are here.
This is Steven.
Yeah. And the last two episodes, I did not identify myself. I just said I'm here too. Because I've had a name change since we've talked about on the podcast. That my name is no longer Jimmy-Jerome, although it can be, whatever, I don't care. But I have gender transitioned and legally changed my name. Yeah. Really, the main reason behind it was Steven kept complaining we didn't have a female co-host. And I thought, well,
hey, we did it.
Somebody's going to do it. No, obviously, that's a joke. Not pretending I speak for all females at all, especially because I'm not even one yet, just barely transitioning. But you know what I mean. Yeah. Anyway, legally, my name is now Olivia. People have been calling me Liv or Livy, but you can still call me Jimmy because I kept James as my middle name, so it's not wrong or a dead name. But just throwing that out there right now because this episode's all about different personalities and past lives and past names, and it seemed like an appropriate time to put that transition out there. If you're watching the video version, you may have noticed some changes. That's why. So anyway, way too long an intro. It's just us. Facets, first impressions.
Probably not my favorite episode. It's kind of it feels like an exercise at first. Although I think once we get to Curzon, especially, then it's like, okay, now we got to, for me, the real meat of like, okay, because we kind of know him, and and they kind of get to it that Cisco knew him and all that stuff. So I knew it, which we've dealt with before. And the B storyline was okay, Nog, but Rom doing some good things. So not a terrible episode by any means, just maybe not my favorite.
Yeah, I think the promise of it was better than the execution. Yeah. I thought it was a really interesting concept. I really wanted to get to know Dax's hosts. And in retrospect, or the way I remember this episode, I thought we got more of them. So many of them were such quick scenes and we're done. And you're right, it was fun for the actors to get to play those roles, but I really wish that had been the episode of give us 5 minutes with each host rather than 10 seconds with some of them and just flip right through and then do the Curzon for half the episode. Separately, I really liked the Nog story. And even though it was a Nog story, I would say it was more of a Rom story. And I really liked the Rom story. So
I agree.
I think those Ferengi characters, the best parts were Rom. Those Ferengi characters have been going through some evolution. And it was a really good, empowering Rom story. We've seen the bits where his brother pushes him too far in the past. But here, when it comes down to his son and his son's future, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but woof, that is the Rom I know and love. That is a Rom that's worthy of how you may have seen him in Lower Decks in the future, rather than the Rom we've seen so far. So I love that. That being said, I do have some quibbles with this episode. I liked this episode. I'd say it's more than middling for me, but far from great. If that makes sense. Yeah. Like I do think it's a step above mediocre, but it's not. Yeah, it's not the high highs of Deep Space Nine for sure. So at the beginning, we start with a cold open where Nog's in danger on a runabout. For any seconds, did you think it was real?
No, I knew right away, which was fine. And I was just like, oh man, at first, and I guess I still feel it. It's like, man, I wish I had video games like that back in the day. But I also thought, you know what? I played Asteroids recently. I still enjoy it. Not the same exact game, but of course, but still. But yeah, I knew right away. I was like, and I also knew it's not a holodeck, or I know, I mean, it is a holodeck, but it's also a simulator. And I enjoyed Jake showing up out the window.
So when Jake was appearing, like floating in space, I'm like, wait a second. The most likely plausible explanation is Jake's a Q now. So your two options were holodeck or Jake's a Q. Which one would have been worse for you? I'm not sure, but double bad on Steven's checklist.
So then they go into the Nog comes out of it, and he and Jake are watching. And I feel like maybe this is the first time, or maybe it's just the first time I noticed the two of them since it's Sirach, you said his name, Sirach Lofton.
Yes.
Yeah. Since he grew, since
Right.
he, like people do. And I was like, oh wow. And I never realized how short Aaron Eisenberg Nog was.
Oh, yeah, because he's fully grown before the series starts.
Yeah,
He's like 10 years older than Sarah.
Yeah.
He's not a kid. He's an adult.
He's 5 feet tall, which isn't that short, but compared to Sirach at this point, 6'3", it's like, oh wow, this is incredibly noticeable. And not in a like, oh my, what is going on here? It was just like, oh, I've never noticed this before. But it kind of lends to their dynamics too. Kind of Mutt and Jeff, or however you want to do it. But
well, and it's hard to decide which one's more mature at this point, whereas before we definitely saw Jake as more mature. The last story I really remember them having together was that double date that went so poorly.
Yeah.
So this is the first time we see them interacting essentially as adults. I mean, it feels like end of high school, beginning of adult life, but it's still like Nog's on this path. Jake's being super supportive, even though this is a path Jake has chosen to eschew for himself. Because, we had his whole story where he thought his dad would want him to join Starfleet, and he had to break it to his dad that he wasn't. And Ben took it great because he's a good father. But it was really, really nice, I think, to see them have this more grown-up relationship and be truly supportive of one another.
Is it Quark or Nog that makes the joke about, well, at least he's got it right. He's not joining Starfleet. Maybe it's Quark.
That's what Quark says about Jake. It's almost like Quark wishes Jake was his nephew instead of Nog. He said, because Nog's like, well, there's no profit in writing, which, according to, I would say, me and most writers. But Quark comes back with, well, yeah, but if you want to write sexy holo novels, I'll even give you funding to start your first project. And at that point, I know Quark is in it for the money. I know he is. But I also think part of it is a last-ditch effort from Quark to try to prevent Nog legitimately before he ends up doing what he does.
Yeah.
Like, I think Quark actually does care about Nog in his own way. And Nog's not Quark's son, because that would have been a different react. I think Quark would have come on a lot stronger anti.
Yeah. I just like the concept of more intimate holosuites based on what we hear about the holosuites so far. It's like more intimate, but I get what he's saying. I
think Quark should have said, I got this customer, Will Riker. He will pay for all the freaky stuff.
Correct.
Then we go to a senior staff meeting where Quark's included, which seems odd, but then because he's the one bragging. But then Lita's there too. Lita, who we've met once, twice, like barely met at all. It feels really weird to have Lita there because we don't know her, and it also feels really weird when Dax says, "You're my closest friends," whereas we know. So a lot of the Star Trek crew, I buy that. Like Next Gen, senior staff are definitely all each other's closest friends. But Dax is somebody we've seen out there interacting with Quark. Apparently she's been interacting with Lita. You'd think Morn would be part of it, except they don't want him to speak, right? Or maybe they should have done a Morn scene with, she had a host that didn't speak, and Morn plays that one. It's just, it felt false to me that those were closest friends when we know Dax has had these 7 lifetimes, that maybe these are the closest people to Jadzia for the moment, but you can't tell me Jadzia doesn't have deep, close friendships with other people. And that's what felt weird. Like, if it was Bashir saying it, I would have bought it a lot more. Dax, I didn't buy it. It just felt false. And I guess they couldn't use Jake as the 7th one because it was the whole main cast, but Jake's a child. So instead we're going to bring in Lita.
Yeah. I felt the exact same way. Which, whatever, and now this is, I don't write about it, but essentially, of all of them, Lita's scene is so short, and I get that we don't know her that much, but that almost cries for the opposite of let's get to know this person. But only so many.
Well, it wasn't her in that scene anyway. What's right? That? It was the host. It wasn't Lita
right, exactly.
Anyway.
Yeah.
The conference room scene, Dax says she needs to borrow their bodies. And I'm surprised Quark doesn't immediately say yes before, she explains what it is.
Yeah.
Also figured, Steven, if you were in that meeting, you would immediately say, sure, borrow my body, absolutely. And then you'd be like, once you realize what she's borrowing them for.
Yeah, I wrote down her words and using Chakotay.net. They're great transcripts. If you don't mind, I'd like to borrow your bodies for a few hours. I wrote down, if I said that to anyone, I would get slapped.
Right, but if Jerry Farrell said that to either one of us now or then, I think we'd both say sure.
Yeah, and then my immediate reaction, and then they mention they start going through all the different hosts or whatever, and as soon as well, even before they talk about the bad guy or whatever, the guy that was the killer or whatever, I'm like,
Yeah.
this is not going to go well, and this was unfortunately did not happen. This is what well, it kind of did a little bit actually. I half got there. I wrote, well, this should go well, which in keeping with the time, Friends, big hit right then. Red Kryptonite question mark. And we didn't quite get to that huge jumps with everybody. I thought everyone would kind of have a moment of they reveal something while with this other person. And it really just happened with Odo and Curzon at the end and Jadzia. But so some Red Kryptonite, but yeah.
When we're going into that conference room scene, we get the detail that Odo is spying on everyone, even knows what Dr. Bashir had for breakfast that morning, which is like, whoa, dude, too much. You need to give them their privacy.
Yeah, that was an interesting revelation.
The other person that could have been around the table, but wasn't, of course, was Keiko. Because, at this point, F Keiko, right? She's never around. Yeah. I almost thought it should be Cassidy Yates just because in these last couple episodes of the season, we seem to keep mentioning her. And Dax seems to like her so much. Mm-hmm. Why not Cassidy Yates? But I did think it was a bit odd that when she was looking for all of them to accept her proposal, they started going around the table and then they skipped Quark and went to the other side and then ended on Quark, which felt very false because she was specifically looking at each one in turn.
Yeah.
And that was just like, what? I get it. But then also, Dax is rubbing his ears to get him to agree in public. Would that be like, if it was a human, she just starts rubbing them through their pants in front of everybody?
Yeah, I had the same thought. I didn't write it down, but I had the exact same thought. Like, this seems inappropriate.
Right?
I mean, I'm not kink shaming for sure, but
no,
it's not even kink shaming. It's just what the Ferengi, it's what does it for them. So,
well, I guess they like showing off in public. Maybe that's a thing. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, and again, as you stated kind of a couple seconds ago, yeah, if she did that to me, I'd be like, I wouldn't be thinking about how inappropriate it is. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. If I could even form coherent thoughts, but still seems a bit. But I guess maybe she's meeting Quark on his level. There's that, but I don't know if that makes it right.
Yeah. No, I just thought it was a little bit awkward. I feel like that should have been a scene in private later.
Yeah, I agree.
So then we go to Nog in operations, which I feel like it did not strike me until we saw Nog in operations that it was supposed to be this really impressive scene of him like taking the operations console and the main ops of Deep Space Nine. And I couldn't help but thinking we barely ever see that set. They're never in operations. They're never on the bridge the way they are in any other Star Trek. Whereas if it was Next Generation, Wesley sitting in the captain's chair, that's a moment, right? Like, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Nog being in operations, Aaron Eisenberg sells it hard, but I didn't feel the same way as a viewer. It did not seem... Maybe if he'd gone up to Sisko's office and sat in Sisko's chair, that'd be different, but it just wasn't.
I mean, it's cool. It's good he was there, but yeah, I feel the same way. It still felt like, are we on a holodeck or a simulator still kind of a thing?
Well, we were, but that doesn't matter. Like, it still just doesn't, that set doesn't have the impact our traditional bridge set has.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And just to back up to something you said, which maybe I hadn't even think about, but why didn't Dax go to all those people in private? Why did she force them? Why did she peer pressure them while they were all together? You know. Anyway, I know it was, again, a convention to, I don't know, create drama, but a more interesting scene, obviously, but and you only got 45 minutes, but still.
You're right. That realistically, that should have been private conversations.
Yeah. No matter, they're not all best friends with each other, although they kind of are, but still.
Every time, it's like Kira at the beginning of season 2, 3, whenever she was like leaving the station. I think that was the beginning of 2.
Yeah.
And they were all like, we're best friends now. And I'm like, really? Because I haven't seen it. And I do feel like that's something that kind of plagues Deep Space Nine throughout, is we get these great friendships. Like O'Brien and Bashir, great friendship. Quark and Odo, great friendship. Sisko and Dax, great friendship. And even Dax and Bashir have developed friendship at this point. Dax and O'Brien, we're getting a little bit, but we don't see them gel as a group the way we did with Next Gen or Original. Yeah. And I think that's something that's a little bit lacking. And every time the writing says that they're a group, it feels a little false. And it's going to keep doing that. But I feel like we're just told rather than shown. we have to assume their bonding happened off screen because we're not going to see the bonding.
That's a really good point because I feel like, and I'm just guessing on next week, I feel like it's similar that whenever the group's together, it's to focus on one person or vice versa. It's not we're all hanging out together and trading stories and everything.
Playing poker or whatever.
Yeah. That's a very astute observation. Yeah.
So we start the ritual. That triangle table that they have with the burning thing in the middle, it's not only cool, it was an accessory in the Jadzia Dax action figure. So if you have the whole crew, you could play act all through this episode if you wanted with all the different... They did make a Lita action figure eventually. It wasn't part of the original run, but when Playmates was like doing catch-up figures later, towards the end of their line, when they were like figures number 250 through 300, she finally got her own figure. But yeah, so you could recreate that whole scene since you have the triangle table.
I thought so. Let's go. A pretty simple process.
Yeah.
It
seemed way simpler than a Vulcan mind meld. Also, did not seem consistent with how they applied the logic of how spirits went in and out. So we'll talk about that as we go.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to go through each host individually, one by one.
Sure.
You did not, I hope, Google the list of Dax hosts, did you? Just so you get the names or anything. Please don't, because there would be a major spoiler, and I don't want you to see it.
Okay.
So I did, because I want to get their names right as we talk through it. I just didn't want you to do it.
Oh, right. No,
because I already know the spoiler and you don't.
Yeah.
So, first one is Nana Visitor as Leela Dax. Leela, who's the politician. We learn that's where Dax got her hands behind the back. Maybe my favorite transformation of the episode. Like, I thought, and part of that might be Nana. She's so good.
Yeah, I thought it was the most. We got the most. I thought it was the most like endearing and like okay, and this makes sense that was the first. In some,
well, you got to spend more time with the first one, right? Yeah. But it's really nice they picked Kira to do it because the actress is one of their strongest performers for sure.
Yeah.
So after her, we get Tobin that O'Brien does. It was almost too close to O'Brien. I mean, the biting the fingernails I get was a step too far, but it's not like O'Brien's super brave or whatever. The fingernails and stuff. I mean, if O'Brien got split in the transporter like Kirk did, I feel like Tobin would have been one of the O'Briens, the weaker O'Brien or whatever.
Yes.
Like, there was enough O'Brien in it.
Yeah, that's a good call.
And they kept saying sorry.
Oh, yeah, they made a point of that. Stop saying you're sorry. I'm sorry.
Sorry. I have done that before. I've been told I say I'm sorry too much and then immediately reply sorry. So that hurt a little close to home there.
Yeah.
But, I don't bite my fingernails. So next we go to Emily, that Lita inhabits, who was a gymnastics person. I don't think they mentioned in this episode, but in a future episode, this is not the spoiler I was referring to, but it's a little bit of a spoiler. Jadzia will eventually mention that Emily actually had a brief fling with a young Leonard McCoy back in the day.
Interesting.
At the University of Mississippi. So McCoy in his college days got down with a young Dax.
I
think he would have gone for a gymnast. I can see it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I did like the connection to the Dax's Klingon martial arts of like, did you take that up after you joined or before? After.
Yeah.
I wish we'd done more of that. I was enjoying those little things.
Yeah.
The little connections.
I agree. That's what I was hoping for.
I felt like there was too much buildup for Audred, that inhabited Quark. I mean, the very maternal, very whatever. I see why she didn't choose anybody else. I also see where in some ways I can see why Quark is an appropriate fit for this, despite Quark like it being rough for him, or supposedly. I don't know. I just thought we had a lot of buildup, and then it wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be.
Yeah,
or maybe it just feels dated now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was just like, oh, Quark's, female host or whatever. It's like, okay, well.
A couple of good elements in that sequence is it established some rules about that the host can reassert, which we've been told, but we see Quark reassert, but not completely give up. Like that, Emily's still there. Emily's just, or Astrid, Audred. Audred's put on hold because Quark's taking control, but Audred's still there until Quark relinquishes back. So that kind of gives us some idea of the logistics. I also really liked Dax talking to Quark at the end. I can't remember if it's an apology or a thank you or something, but she does the Ferengi hand thing. that we've seen the Ferengis do, where they go, if you're on Patreon, you like this. And I really love that she did the Ferengi gesture. I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah, that was cool.
So we get to Torius. That was Dr. Bashir. We will find out more about Torius in a future episode. Was quite controversial at its time. We'll get into that. But that was Star Trek had the first interracial kiss back in the 60s. Star Trek also had the first homosexual kiss on television, and it will be related to this particular host and everything coming up. So it was a big controversy in the 90s when Terry Farrell's kissing a girl on television. But we'll talk about why that is when we get to that episode.
Okay.
But I also thought, like O'Brien, this is just a shade off of the real Bashir. The eating unhealthy. I know he's trying to eat, and I think that was really fun because it felt like a tie back into the Odo comment earlier about you had 2 pastries. Well, now he's trying to watch what he's eating.
Yeah.
I liked that. But yeah, the touching the fire and just acting like a bad boy, I feel like that may have been a little bit season 1 Bashir, sowing his wild oats.
Yeah.
But we also find out that host died early, which I think there's something there to discuss more in the future as well. But some of these hosts obviously will be revisited, not necessarily in this manner, not with this ritual again, but because we've learned about Curzon, we learned about the murderer over the first 3 seasons. There will be other occurrences in the next 4 where other hosts come back up for one reason or another.
And I guess that makes sense. If you're, we'll go through other people's back pages as well. And hers are a lot different.
Hers are so ripe. I wish we got more.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say they've done a good job with Curzon, not just the Ben stuff, but the Klingon stuff too is Curzon. And so I really felt, like you said, I really felt like in a certain way we already knew Curzon pretty well before we get to that, which he is the next one up. And that made him, it could have been very easy. Oh, that's not the next one up. Why is it the next? I skipped Joran. We'll talk about Joran real quick. Yeah. Obviously, we had the whole episode where Dax Jadzia became aware of Joran.
Yeah.
I absolutely get why they still did it. Like, I think that's part of the ritual. You kind of have to. Right. But Odo, they did a nice job playing the seeds of Odo being worried about what Joran might do to Ben ahead of time. Yeah. And then, of course, it came to fruition.
Of course.
He was so freaking creepy. Yeah. Like, part of that was the music. Yeah. And he's a musician. But
yeah, I felt like, and I wrote, I didn't see that coming. Of course I did. We all saw it coming. But yeah,
I think he'd actually fake his way out of the cell and try to choke her for real. I'd forgotten that. That was like, why didn't Ben assert himself sooner if he could and is a passenger? That made me think Joran was harder to wrest control from than the other hosts. Like he would have fought against it, whereas the other ones maybe wouldn't have.
I will say this: as much as I knew this was coming and it wasn't going to go right, I still wasn't sure that Sisko had regained control. So credit for that. But I also thought, oh no, is this going to be the arc for the rest of the episode? And it wasn't. Also, credit for that. So good job there.
It was a great fake out because once that happens and you're not sure, and I also wasn't sure, it does feel like that's going to be the thing instead of Curzon. So what a good fake out in that term. It was written by Renee Echevarria, one of the main DS9 guys, which I think you have to have one of your key people write an episode like this if you're going to give away this much backstory and delve in this deep. Absolutely. So I thought he did a great job. Regular director Cliff Bull too. They went with somebody they trusted for directing. So we were in good hands. So after that, we have a break before Curzon, and we've got a Rom scene where, oh my God, Max Gronchek is great at physical comedy. We've seen this before, but we're the camera's focused on Quark in the bar, and all of a sudden Rom just leans back from behind the pillar into frame, and I loved that so much. Credit to the director Cliff, but also I feel like Max may have had a hand in that because that feels very Max. Yeah. And then I'm trying to think. It's Quark says, well, pacing around like some Albanian cave sloth. And I had to rewind it 3 times because I thought he was saying Albanian, but he's saying Albanian. Because I was like, why is he referencing an Albanian? I'm like, oh, okay, now I got you. Sure. Yeah. Albania is a country on Ferenginar that's very similar to Albania. Oh, well, there you go. That's where the Ferengi vampires live. It's very sunny there, which I know feels unusual for a vampire, but the rest of Franken are so dreary and rainy that, it makes sense in that regard.
There you go. It's switch.
Like Jimmy V's The Bar.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Jimmy V. But yeah, he was from Albania. Yep.
Stopped at the Westerville one last night after work and had a drink, and they were very. I'd eat there like once or twice with the family, but I hadn't gone in there as like a bar, and it's the only place in Uptown that's open past 10 p.m. on a weeknight.
Oh, right.
And it was nice. I was like, I'll come back here because I had been going to like the Mexican restaurant halfway between home and work if I need a drink after work, and they close at 10, and I was like, oh, Jimmy V's is supposedly 2:30. They were closing at 11 last night because they were dead, but 11 was fine. I'm not gonna stay out till 2:30 on a weeknight.
Somebody, for some reason, I know why people keep asking. They're like, well, didn't there used to be a bunch of Jimmy V's? I'm like, yeah, but right now there's just mine in Westerville, and I think there's one other one somewhere. But I think it makes sense. Those two are also the best and have the best patios. The one in German Village is pretty good too. But
Pataskala has a Jimmy V's.
That's the other one. Yeah, that one's But
those are the three.
Yeah, the Westerville one's really great. And when I'm up there, that's and it's in a good spot.
You and I ate there once. Yeah, but I sit on the patio with the kids and Morgan too. Oh, it's a great patio. Yeah. I love that Uptown has one bar that's open because I always thought the whole Uptown was shut by 10 p.m. and I'm really glad to find out there's one place that's not. Yep. So there should be. That's with walking distance from Otterbein. I bet during the school year they'd never shut early.
Exactly.
So anyway, you're welcome, Patreon, for the Jimmy V's discussion.
I think this was the scene where I also wrote that Quark is a hater because he's so down on. I think well everybody here. Yeah, he gives himself away, and I did note it, of course, where he's like, well, because Rom says he had the uniform, and Quark's like, he doesn't need that, and you're like, oh, what did Quark do? But then he covers it well. Because him saying like, well, Starfleet will just issue him one if he gets in. Exactly. Yeah. It's a good cover, but it still was enough to raise my heckles of, oh, he's going to do something, or he's already done something. I also liked the detail that Garrick made the uniform, but I would have really, really liked to see that scene rather than have Quark tell Rom that it was going to be done. And I guess that was good because we got the Rom, like as smart as Rom is on some things, he's still dumb. Like it never occurred to him that Starfleet would give him one. So he was willing to pay Garrick for it expensive, but I would like to see that scene where Garrick tries to talk him out of it, and Rom just never lets him actually get the explanation out on why you should be talked out of it. That would be fun. That would have been. Well, any Garrick scene. We always want more Garrick. So back to Dax. She's really having some self-doubt here before we go into Curzon. And look, every character deserves to be well-rounded and interesting. It just rung... I get that Dax would have self-doubt. I think it was a little bit weird how open she was about her self-doubt. And I guess, Ben's like her oldest friend. But she always seems so tough. And while I could see her having self-doubt, I'm not sure I buy her as the type of person that's just going to confess to the self-doubt as openly as she does here. And maybe as quickly, It felt like that should have been like, not that, because she's a little bit masculine in some ways. And that's like the masculine thing of like, burying and hiding that stuff, and it did feel a little weird that she did it. Yeah, it ends up playing out, I think, all right, but it does seem like, this doesn't seem like the person we know would be, and maybe that's the idea, is like even somebody as tough and strong as them can have doubts, self-doubts, and I get that, but. Well, this kind of plays off the whole episode arc we've gotten so far, where you can tell Jadzia doesn't really want to do this ceremony. She's put it off. She's rescheduled. She says she's busy, but we also know that Ben would have made the time for her. And in that scene in the conference room where she's convincing them all, when they all leave, her face falls where it had been happy. So like there have been the hints, and it's nice to get that, finally understand why, that it was all Curzon. It was all her self-doubt. And you can, even strong, tough people, you can put yourself back into the perspective of somebody in their formative years, that it was a mentor that felt like they betrayed them and didn't believe in them. And how that could bring all that rushing back. Yeah. So as much as it kind of bothered me, I also get it from a realistic perspective. I know. I thought it just, I think it kind of goes with the lineage of Ponfar of as far as a great device, not as good a device, but a great device. And I thought the way it was set up was like, well, they can explain anything away with like, well, that's the way this has to be done. This is the way it works. We can't deviate. Right. It's like, okay, all right, you win. Same with I mean, and the big thing with Amok Time is like they don't deviate, but they find a way around it. They find a loophole. They find a. I'm trying to think of Kirk's line, one of his lines from Wrath of Khan, but yeah. Reprogram it. They reprogram
right.
it.
What he did with the Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah, exactly. So,
which feels really appropriate to bring up in this circumstance because we've got Nog's scenario, and I know that's skipping here Curzon for a second, but let's tie up Nog and then we'll come back.
Sure.
But yeah, Nog failed not because he cheated, but because Quark cheated.
Yeah.
So Quark pulled an anti-Kirk, the opposite of Kirk.
Yeah.
It's Rom. I like Rom defending, like we said, that my son is more important to me than Latinum.
Yeah.
And I will burn this bar to the ground. That was such a great detail. It's one thing to say your son's important. I get that. Like that lands. Yeah. But I think it's brilliant to take it a step further and say, I will burn this bar to the effing ground if you mess with my son again.
And I think I read that's Max Grodenchuk's favorite line that he ever got to do.
I believe it. It's so good. It really elevated the scene from like up here to like way up here, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That whole Nog ending where we get another shot of Bashir and O'Brien playing darts because it already feels like it's become a crux that we keep relying on. Yeah. And this is why I felt like it was such a regular part of the series because they did it a lot. But you notice how half-hearted everybody claps when Rob's like, my son, pass the thing. I think, in my opinion, as I'm trying to justify why they're all so lackluster, I don't think it's because they don't believe in Nog. I don't think it's because they're not excited for him to get into Starfleet. I think it's because Rom is jumping the gun because this isn't to get into Starfleet. This is to do a prep course that might help him get into Starfleet. Right? Because this was just to qualify him for like a 6-week prep course. Right. And so I think that's what the half-hearted clapping. I mean, Bashir doesn't even like turn his hands. He still holds the darts and does a bit of this, like the back of his hand into the palm. Yeah. And I was like, why are they so not enthusiastic? And I'm like, because Rob's blowing this way out of proportion. But also, good dad for blowing it way out of proportion. Yeah. And I like that he basically like roped everybody into a surprise party that was as much a surprise to the partygoers as it was to the recipients.
Yes.
But then you also get that really cute line where Sisko goes up to Nog and he's like, you get a little ahead of yourself putting on the uniform. And Nog's like, I know, I don't deserve it, but I'm wearing it for my dad. And Sisko immediately lets him off the hook. But I love that because we see Rom put himself out there so much in defense of his son, I love we get a bit back that it's mutual.
Yeah. That was nice.
I mean, you would understand if he was the typical teenager that was like, my dad. But no, it's not.
Yeah, and that's a very good point.
It's stuff like this that I think are why Rom and Nog are so beloved as characters and why they became as reoccurring as they did. Whereas in the early season or two, we didn't get a lot of them. Yeah. We'll get a lot more of them for the rest of the series. And I think this is the stuff of why. So Nog's not just going to disappear to Starfleet Academy. We won't see him for 4 seasons like Wesley. Right. He'll still be a presence in the show. Last note about Nog, he orders a root beer, which is a human beverage that they drink in the Academy.
I enjoyed that.
Right?
I also like that Quark had it there. Oh, I guess you have a replicator or whatever. But.
Replicator. It was very clear he didn't know what it was, so he was going to replicator. Yeah. But I do give Quark credit. And it's really hard to give Quark credit because we've seen some really ugly sides of Quark. But I do give Quark credit here of he lost and he accepted it gracefully. Yeah. And he may not have congratulated his nephew, but he also got him a celebratory drink and did not rain on his parade or ruin his mood in the moment. Yeah. And that is more mature than I would give season 1 Quark credit for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, back to Curzon.
Yes.
We know something is immediately different because Odo shapeshifts.
Yes.
Into Curzon. We've seen Curzon before, and I think they did a pretty good job merging Odo's look with Curzon's look.
And I thought the thing he did with the nose was very Jimmy-Jerome. And I looked it up on the internet. And Alpha Fandom was like, well, this happens in a later episode, the Holosuite program, Bashir 62. And this is the limits of AI and whatever. I probably just ruined the power for some place. Somebody's AC just went out because I looked this up. But I blame Google. But anyway, regardless, Google, don't shut me down. I feel like he's definitely doing a Jimmy-Jerome there, whether the internet acknowledges it or not. So I enjoyed that, and then we get into everything else from there. But and you know, to counter or support what we were saying earlier, like Rene Aubernois is having a great time. He's stretching himself. I shouldn't say stretching himself. He's obviously a good actor, but it's fun to see him doing this within the Odo channel at the same time. It just seems easy, but isn't necessarily.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's fun.
Absolutely.
It was fun at first, and then it gets weird.
They've all been like in a room with Jadzia talking to her, but the first thing he does is go visit Ben. Yeah. You can tell Ben's like a little bit weirded out. Like, I'm glad to see you. I'm happy you came for a visit. Very happy, very happy. Mm-hmm. But also like, what's going on here? Mm-hmm. Like, I'll take you to the bar where you're supposed to be Jadzia, and then I'm going to excuse myself from it.
Yep.
So you can tell Ben, yeah. And Curzon clearly still remembers what Jadzia remembers because he's talking about Cassidy Yates. Or no, that probably came from Odo, right? Like all the current stuff he's thinking of probably came from Odo's side because they merged. It wasn't a clear, unlike the others that like the mind took over, they had a merged mind.
I will say I like that element of, and I feel like we've hit this before, not necessarily with the Trill, but maybe some other people, but that some of the memories do go with the one, there's a little bit of mix. Kind of like, I guess, the Vulcan mind meld, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had that experience where, but our minds melded. You weren't just in my mind. I was in your mind.
Yeah.
My mind to your mind. My thoughts to your thoughts.
Absolutely. And I do feel like this episode may have been inspiration for an upcoming Voyager episode of a merging of two characters in a way that like this is.
Yeah.
I think Voyager does it very differently. And you kind of have to because it's a very different situation. But I definitely see the seeds here where this may have been sparked something for the Voyager writers to get to their episode. Curzon he's an a-hole, right? Like he just is. He's a bit of a creep. I mean, he talks about like
I have that word creepy.
First, he's fine, like letting her believe that she just wasn't good enough and she was drummed out for legitimate reasons, which is not cool.
Uh-huh.
Then when he tells her he's in love with her and it was genuine love and not just like some schoolboy crush and blah, 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 it still felt creepy and bothered me a lot because it's like teacher-student thing. It's not appropriate.
Yeah. And I guess kudos for making it uncomfortable, but because I wrote creepy question mark. And then I think when he does that reveal, I'm like, not creepy question mark. No, I think we still are. Maybe we're creepier. And I like that. That's what I like about when Dax goes to talk to Cisco and he's like, yeah, he was my buddy. He was also manipulative, selfish, and arrogant. It's like, he knows him. He recognizes the flaws.
I appreciate that because we all have friends with flaws. I mean, we have flaws. We're sometimes the friends with flaws for sure. So it's not just, yeah, absolutely. So it's not just that. It's just, these were really, really big flaws. And I think at the time, it would have played differently when it aired. I think in 2025 viewpoint watching it, it bothers me that Curzon's like, that Jadzia's okay with it. Like, oh yeah, I just want you to be back inside of me. And I kind of loved you. I mean, we definitely get the impression that Jadzia had a crush on the teacher, right? Like it was mutual.
Yeah. Maybe, but
I mean, the way she talks to him and touches his face and everything, it feels like it was mutual.
And I'm with you because I think watching it then, I feel like maybe the intent was, and I didn't feel that way.
No, it felt so wrong on every level. Yeah, and I feel like Curzon should like stand trial now, not get right, like. Don't Jeffrey Epstein her or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, that's not the same thing. But you know what I mean. Like,
but
it's very inappropriate. I don't like it. It does
seem like she forgives him quickly, and maybe it's us just jumping to 2025 too soon. But I did feel like, I mean, because I think
So
I feel like the Odo Dax scene at the end is that actually the true. Not resurrection, the true reconciliation or hey, the true reaching each other and kind of having a real moment as opposed to what Curzon and I mean, I guess Curzon is revealing a lot, but it doesn't really help him to me. And I guess we're here to judge, but maybe not. I mean, obviously we were just talking about all the flaws we have. And on that point, sure. But Yeah, I just didn't. Again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It feels like Dax should be stronger and more like, no, let's. But
Yeah, Odo was half of that personality, so I don't
that's
think
true
he should have
too.
been off the hook. I
Yeah.
think from the writing perspective, they did not treat Curzon's love for Jadzia, whether it was love or lust. I would argue it most likely lust. They sell it as
Yeah.
love. They did not treat that as the dirty thing. The other thing, though, that I think is unforgivable for Curzon is he lets her believe that he let her back into the program out of pity rather than the merits of
Yeah.
like it was my fault.
Yeah.
He was fine with her believing it was her fault and he was
Yeah.
just pitying her.
Yeah.
And that's not cool either. Like
Yeah.
that's so wrong.
Yeah. Why are you waiting until now? Yeah. And
Well, not just
but
wait
Odo
until
does
now,
at
but
least
she's like,
apologize.
it's not just wait until now, but he's like, yeah, no, I felt bad, so I let you back in the program. She didn't say you're brilliant and you deserve to be in the
Right.
program. He didn't say you earned your way back in.
Yep.
He's like, I felt bad and I let you back in. That's BS.
Yeah.
That's like Terry. That's that I got really ticked off on that.
Yeah. It's not a good conversation.
I know we've like Quark does really crappy things and we forgive him because then we see those moments where he does good things. This to me might make Curzon unredeemable. I don't know how much more Curzon we'll get in the series. I don't think much, if any. But if this is the last Curzon story, I have a really hard time thinking that Curzon's a decent character. It also, unfortunately, calls into question Sisko's judgment. Like, if you were really good buddies with a guy like this, what's that say about you?
Yeah, and maybe he doesn't know as much as he said. Doesn't know him as well as he said he does. But
well, I don't think he knew about what went on with Jadzia.
For sure.
But he definitely knew that Curzon was a womanizer and didn't respect women.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm not saying we don't have friends that do bad things that we don't approve of, but I don't know. I guess that this is a post Me Too thing, or I'm like, no, you just don't have tolerance for that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I just don't like it. It really bothered me. Yeah. I was left bothered by this episode.
I mean, I feel like in 1995 I've been like, oh, it's a love that's unrequited, and now I never went anywhere near that. I was like, right? And maybe that's just experience, but that's also the world has changed. We've become more aware, more enlightened. But Odo does apologize in that final scene, and at least they have some kind of coming closer together. But yes. That's a really good point, like that you said. Well, Odo was still in there, and I thought the same thing too. Like, because for a minute I wrestled with, I was like, oh yeah, Odo has a crush on Kira.
He's got a crush on Kira.
Yeah.
The fact that Odo was willing to merge with a guy like this also calls into question Odo's judgment, but I do think there's an argument that redeems him a little bit better than Sisko in terms of judgment, in that like Odo's experiencing physical things for the first time he's never experienced, and he talks about that. And so there's like that personal element that's selfish and whatever, but in some ways Odo is childlike in that manner. And like, I kind of excuse Odo a little bit, even more than I excuse Ben in this situation. But I don't know. I've got a few alternate episodes here. I mean, the first one is I just wrote something not creepy would be nice as an alternate episode. But then I also put maybe it would have been interesting for Rene Auberjonois if they left Curzon in him, at least for a few episodes, and saw how that played out. Yeah. If they hadn't made Curzon so awful, I would have been more into that. And then my third one is we didn't get Varad Dax, which was John Glover's character from a couple seasons ago. Oh, yeah. Where he stole the Dax symbiote. But I think the reason we didn't get it is the merging was never complete. So while I think there's part of him that exists within the Dax symbiote, I don't think he fully merged the way these other people have, and that's why he was able to be left out. Yeah. There are two other names on the list if you Google every Dax host, but that's why I'm telling you not to. Nope. Because there's two other names, both spoilers.
My alternate episode may cut directly against your initial alternate episode of Not Creepy, which is Morlita. So one, I do like Chase Masterson, and just goes back to our original idea of like, she had 5 lines, I counted them. So yeah.
They'll get more lines in future episodes. I don't think she ever has a story that's her. but like she's in a fair number of episodes going forward, so she'll be around. I mean, she was in Lower Decks, so you know that.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So anyway, ranking the episode. Who was your shady character for Facets?
It seems too easy, but Quark.
Oh, really? Yeah,
for all his maneuvering.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I went with Curzon, but I see Quark too.
I've got Curzon as my annoying.
So I actually put Jadzia as my annoying.
Yeah.
And some of it's not fair, but it's for the reasons we've already talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like her character would have handled it differently. Yeah. I'm not against seeing vulnerability from her. I'm not against the idea of her slipping back into an earlier version of herself that wasn't as mature and strong. Mm-hmm. I just think it wasn't done all that well. And I don't think that's a Terry Farrell problem. I think that was a writing problem. So there were parts of this episode where I was just so frustrated with Jadzia of like, you're better than this. Yeah. Don't do this. But again, good characters need to overcome, and they have flaws. So, maybe I'm being a little unfair.
Yeah.
Who are you going to drink with?
Lita, while we're on it.
Of course.
I thought about Dax. I thought about Odo, and then I went with
Rom. He's so proud of Nog. He was looking for somebody to have a drink with tonight. I'll have a drink with him and he'll celebrate with him.
That's a good one too.
I mean, if Nog gets in, and I won't say right now whether he does or not, he will be the very first Ferengi in Starfleet. That's like Worf levels of groundbreaking. Because Worf was the first Klingon in Starfleet. Worf levels of groundbreaking, pretty impressive, And we didn't get to celebrate with Worf. We saw it after the fact. It would be pretty cool to see it happen.
I agree. Yeah.
And of course, Wesley was the first annoying child. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, they've admitted lots of annoying children. He was the first Nepo baby. That's not true either. I guarantee you that. So, ranking the episode.
Yes, sir. Yes.
We definitely don't want it at the very top. I get that. Let's start with. It's hard to find where to start with this.
Yeah.
Let's go with Explorers. That was the recent Jake and Ben. Part why I'm going with this is it's recent, whereas a lot of the ones in the next few spots below it are older, so we might have a harder time remembering them.
The space vessel?
Yeah, the solar sail vessel.
I feel like that's probably a good spot because I feel like that was a okay, uneven episode that had some cool stuff and some not so great stuff. Yeah. I could be probably talked into going either way. I think I'm going to go.
I was going to say. Above is Life Support. That's the Burial Death episode.
Okay. That might be a good spot for it, actually, right in between those two. Yeah.
Below is Defiant, which is the Tom Riker hijack.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely think this is better than that.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was fun. But I think between Explorers and Life Support might be a good spot, too. I also was very torn on Explorers above or below.
Yeah.
So let's put it there.
Sounds good.
Cool. Next week. The season 3 finale, Deep Space Nine. I hope you watched the theme song because it's the last time it'll exist in that version.
I did. I watched them all the way through every time.
I do too, but I think I paid more attention, or I will pay more attention.
Yeah, next week. Yeah,
it's just coincidence I'm wearing the same clothes when we record the next episode. That we're both wearing the same clothes when we record the next episode. No, I definitely paid more attention knowing it was the last time because I want to note it. And it's going to be a couple months before we watch season 4 premiere. So I just try to lock in as much as I could. Yeah. We might want to rewatch it back to back before we watch season 4 just to see what the difference is. But anyway, the adversary, the Defiant, is off to show the Federation's presence to the new Kepi government. While underway, the ship malfunctions and repeated instances lead Sisko to believe a changeling's on board engaging in sabotage. I don't love that synopsis. No. I don't think it's quite accurate. I don't think it's that great. But anyway, we'll discuss that next week.
I say sabotage.
I thought of you many times in that word.
We'll get to that next week, probably.
Next week. That's reason enough to come back. Until then, live long.
And be yourself. And prosper.
It's All Been Done presents
Who's Got the Time?